Hi everybody, my name is Rupa, working as assistant professor in Chevron Engineering College. I'm dealing the subject power electronic controllers and drives, and today topics in this is cycloconverter control. Okay, so this cycloconverter control, before going to this, we have a small introduction of this regenerative braking. So actually the performance of this regenerative braking, see here I am using the synchronous link converter. So let us first consider this the regenerative braking of pulse width modulation inverter. So with PWM inverters 1 and 2, I am going to explain this SLC. Okay, this is called synchronous link converter. So in the drive in figures 38, 6.38 ABCD, I have shown you 4 figures. From this, see, when the machine will be operating from the motoring condition and it is shifting to the braking condition, there what happens, the idle current, DC link current idle will be reversing the flow into the DC supply, and it will be reverse feeding the energy to the source, right? So thus this drive has already a regenerative braking capability, so no need of any arrangements for doing this as a regenerative braking, and we can adopt this for a regenerative braking as it is having all the capabilities of regenerative braking. So in this case of regenerative braking, the power supplied to the DC link will be transferred to the AC supply. Okay, from the inverter it is transferred to the AC supply, it is fed to the source. So when the operation will be shifting from the motor to braking, the DC link current will be reversing, but we have to maintain the VD as same direction. VD in the same direction we have to maintain. Okay, though ID is reversing, but what we have to maintain, the VD, the DC link voltage here, this VD should be remaining in the same direction. So for the regenerative capability, a converter will be chosen that is capable of dealing with the DC voltage with only one polarity, and the DC current will be either in two directions, normal direction and reverse direction. So the current should be in two directions, but the voltage should be having only one polarity. Okay, so for this a dual converter, we can implement this, because this dual converter is having a capability and already we have employed in the past also. So the recent drives uses synchronous link converter, what you are showing in the figure, what I am showing you in the figure, that is SLC. So as it is taking the sinusoidal current at unity power factor from the AC source, both it is used for braking and motoring operations. So it is very superior in performance, and it does not require more devices than in dual converter. Actually, when you are using with dual converter, we use more devices, but this SLC will be dependable upon the only some of the devices. And now I am going to explain the principle of operation here. So a regenerative drive with a SLC, this is synchronous link converter, and a PWM inverter, it is shown in the figure here. Okay, this is totally is called, this bunch is called as SLC, synchronous link converter, and this is PWM inverter. So total is explained by the regenerative braking, and the inductors which are used in this synchronous link converter are LS. Okay, so these LS and PWM inverter 1 constitute a SLC. So PWM 1 is operated to produce voltage V1. Okay, so this PWM inverter 1 produces V1 voltage. Okay, so this V1 is produced with required magnitude and phase, and it is also produced with low harmonic content. Okay, so as the source is nearly is source current is nearly sinusoidal in phase, we are taking Vs with the motoring in phase, and for braking is out of phase with Vs by 180 degrees. Okay, so V1 is producing V1 is produced for required magnitude and phase with low harmonic current content. So if there is only low harmonic current content only, we can adjust the is according to our requirements. So here is for the motoring operation, source current is this one. This source current for the motoring operation is produced with in phase to the Vs, and for the braking operation it is out of phase with the Vs, that is 180 degrees out of phase with the Vs. So here we are getting unity power factor. If you do like that, you are getting unity power factor. And the phasor diagram, see here, I am showing you the phasor diagrams. These are the four phasor diagrams. This is for motoring operation and this is for braking operation. So if you see the motoring operation here, is in phase with Vs. Okay, current is in phase with Vs. So here 180 degrees out of phase. This is here, if you take the midpoint, this is Vs, and 180 degrees out of phase, this is Is, and this is V1 and this is V1. Okay, so the resultant is Vx, that is equal to j omega LSIS. Here Vx j omega LSIX. So this is for braking operation and this is for motoring operation. Okay, so for each values of ISPS, we are given phase and magnitude is required, and this can be easily realized in sinusoidal pulse width modulation, PWM. So if you take in sinusoidal pulse width modulation, the magnitude and phase of V1 will be depending upon the magnitude and phase of modulation signal. So therefore, V1 of given phase and magnitude can be produced by producing modulated signal of required phase and magnitude. So if we produce the modulating signal, what the value you want for V1? Suppose if you want V1 as 10, you have to 10 volts. We have to produce the modulating pulse signal as 10 volts. So this V1 will be produced depending upon the modulated signal only. So in order to control the V1, we have to adjust the modulating signal to the desired value of V1. So both magnitude and phase can also be adjusted there by using the modulating signal. So as V1 is produced by the PWM inverter, it does not contain any low frequency harmonics. And the inductor LS, we are using this filter outs. So see here, this we are using LS. So these will be filtering out the high frequency harmonics to produce. If the high frequency harmonics are filtered out, what we have the output, it is nearly a sinusoidal source current Is. Okay, so the phasor diagrams what you are seeing in this figure are similar to that of synchronous machine only. For synchronous machine also we are getting the same phasor diagrams. So this behavior of synchronous link converter SLC, it is similar to that of synchronous machine. So that's why we are giving the name that synchronous link converter. Okay. Next. So when this drive is operating, when the showed 6.40 figure drive is operating in steady state, the power supplied, that means that is taken by the SLC, must be equal to the power taken by the PWM inverter 2. Okay, so the supplied power should be equal to taken power. Since these two work, SLC and PWM inverter 2, these two will be independent of each other. So this independent of each other characteristics will be achieved by providing closed loop control of the DC link voltage. So when you take the closed loop control of the DC link voltage, then we can provide them independent to each other. So when the power supply by the SLC to the D-link will be equal to the power taken by the PWM inverter 2. So when completely given energy is taken, no energy will be supplied or taken from the capacitor C. Okay, so this C will be not taking any other extra energy. So its voltage will be constant and equal to the reference value VD always. Always what will happen if it does not contain any energy, always the capacitor voltage will be maintained at constant value VD star. Now if load on induction motor, this is the induction motor. Now if the load on the induction motor is increased, then what happens? Power taken by the PWM inverter 2 from the DC link will be higher than the power supplied by the SLC, right? So as the load is increased, it requires more energy. So the taking power from the SLC will be more than what the SLC is supplying. So now the capacitor voltage VD will be below its reference value VD star, right? The VD will be falling below to the reference value VD star. So now the closed loop voltage control will increase the value of IS, and therefore if IS is increased, the power supplied to the DC link will also get increased. So hence the DC link will be brought back to the again reference values. Okay, so this is the operation, and the explained what I have explained in before 38 6.38D, it has the regenerative braking capability. That is, if you replace the diode bridge either by dual converter or SLC, so mainly the SLC is preferred because there will be a superior performance. Similarly, D and B also having, see, I will show you. This is D, what I have said. If the diode bridge is replaced by a dual converter or SLC, so I am telling that SLC is more superior than the dual converter. So if you replace the diode bridge with SLC or dual converter, we can have the regenerative braking. Suppose if you take this B figure, in B figure, so here also we can have regenerative braking capability. Okay, so if you replace the control rectifier by a dual converter, here in place of control rectifier, if you replace it with dual converter, you can have the this drive can have the regenerative braking capability. So here we cannot replace this control rectifier with the SLC because it requires operation at a constant DC link voltage. Okay, so if the SLC needs constant DC link voltage, but if you go for 6-step inverter DC link voltage, here if you take into account this 6-step inverter DC link voltage, it must be varied, then only it will be working. So this will be varied, this voltage will be varied, VD will be varied for 6-step inverter, because if you vary the VD only, the 6-step inverter will be working. So but for SLC, in order to put here, in order to replace this control rectifier with SLC, we need VD as constant. So that's why I am not using here SLC. Rather than SLC, I am replacing the control rectifier with a dual converter. Okay, and this figure A is also having a regenerative braking capability. If 2-quadrant chopper, and this 2-quadrant chopper should have a capability of providing voltage of one polarity and current in either direction. Okay, so if this chopper is able to provide voltage of one polarity and current in either direction, then also we can use this for regenerative braking. Okay, next you will be knowing the brief detailed about 4-quadrant operation. Okay, so this 4-quadrant operation, just listen, that's all. This four quadrant operation can be obtained by any drive. Okay, so with any drive, braking capability is there, we can obtain this four quadrant capability. Or braking capability means if it is having regenerative or dynamic capability, dynamic braking capability. So here, if you reduce the inverter frequency, in order to make the synchronous speed less than the motor speed, then the transfer will be there from the first quadrant, that is from transfer of operation will be there from first quadrant, that is forward motoring, to second quadrant, that is forward braking. Okay, so now the inverter frequency and voltage are reduced. So as they are reduced, the speed will be falling to break the machine up to the zero speed. Now, phase sequence of the inverter output voltage, it is reversed by interchanging the firing pulses between the switches of any two legs of the inverter. If you change like this, they will get reversed. So, for example, between the pairs TR1 and TR4, if you consider, there are two pairs TR1, TR4 and TR3, TR6. So in before figures, so this transfers the operation to quadrant 3, reverse motoring. Okay, so always here the inverter frequency and voltage are increased for getting the required speed in the reverse directions. This is the four quadrant operation. Next, very important topic, cycloconverters. Sorry, cycloconverter control. So we are having mainly two types of controls, VSA control and cycloconverter control. Now I am going to explain cycloconverter control. So see here, this also allows variable frequency and variable voltage supply. This is obtained from the fixed voltage and frequency AC supply. Okay. So here what you are seeing is a half wave cycloconverter along with the nature of its output voltage waveforms also. Down you are seeing the nature of output waveforms. So this is having a very low harmonic content. When operating at low frequencies, it is having very low harmonic content. So at low speeds also we can attain smooth motion for this cycloconverter control. Okay, and harmonic content will be increasing with the frequency. Okay, so it makes to limit the maximum output frequency to 40% of the source frequency, and the maximum speed is also restricted to 40% of synchronous speed at main frequencies. And a motor with large leakage inductance is used. So if you use a motor with large leakage inductance, then we can minimize the deterioration and torque pulsations. So these are coming due to the harmonics in the motor control. So if you are using a large inductance, then harmonics will be decreased, then deterioration and torque pulses will also automatically get decreased. So this drive has regenerative braking capability also. And we can obtain also here 4 full quadrant operations by reversing the phase sequence of the motor voltage terminal. So, but one of the drawback is this employs a large number of thyristors. So these thyristors are costly. So it will be only economical when you use this cycloconverter for large power drives. Then only it will be economical. So if you want to use this for small power drives, the cost will be increased. Okay, so remember that these cycloconverters are used for only large power drives because of using thyristors which are cost. So this cycloconverter drive, it has applications in high power drives requiring good dynamic response, but it is having other disadvantage of having low speed operation. Suppose in a ball mill, in a cement plant, this low speed operation is not required. Okay, and the low speed operation is obtained by feeding a motor with large pole numbers from the cycloconverter. These will be operating at low frequencies. So that's why these drives are called as gearless drives, because unlike conventional drives, the low speed operation of the load is obtained without a reduction gear. Okay, so these low speeds are obtained by without a reduction gears. So this one is all about a sinusoidal cycloconverter. So this will be eliminating a cost and space and maintenance. If you use this like this without a reduction gear, this will be eliminating a cost, space and maintenance. This is all about cycloconverter controls. Next one is closed loop speed control and converter rating for VSI and cycloconverter induction motor drives. So if you see the diagram, I'm showing you a closed loop speed control drive, and it is similar to the drive what we have discussed before classes, and it is employing a inner slip speed loop with a slip limiter. Inner slip speed loop with a split limiter and outer speed loop. Okay. So for a given current, the slip speed has a fixed value. For a given current, I am giving a current that for that the slip speed has a fixed value. So now the slip speed loop also functions as a inner current loop. So you are familiar with this inner current loop and closed loop, right? So whenever I am So for a given current, this slip speed will be having a fixed value, and the slip speed loop also functions as a inner current loop. So it ensures the motor will be operating always on the portion of torque speed curve between the synchronous speed and speed at the maximum torque for all the frequencies. So if you use this, we can ensure that this motor operation will be between the synchronous speed and the torque maximum speed. At all the frequencies, it will be between only. That means between the permissible values only. So if this is permissible values, in between the permissible values, we can ensure high torque to current ratio. And here this drive also uses PWM inverter. It is fed from a DC source. This PWM inverter, it is fed from a DC source. So this DC source is having a capability of regenerative braking and 4-quadrant operation both. And this drive scheme is also applicable to any VSI, voltage source inverter or cycloconverter drive, which is having regenerative or dynamic braking capability. Okay, now we will go into the operation. The speed error. First, at the starting, the speed error is processed through the PI controller. The speed error is processed through the PI controller and a slip regulator. Next to this PI controller, we are having a slip regulator. So this PI controller is used to get good steady state accuracy, and it is also used to attenuate noise. And this slip regulator, second one, this slip regulator, it sets the slip speed command omega SL. It sets the command slip speed command omega SL, whose maximum value is limited to limit the inverter current to a permissible value. So the synchronous speed obtained by adding the actual speed omega m, and slip speed omega SL, this will be determining the inverter frequency. And the reference signal for the closed loop control of the machine terminal voltage V star, this one. This is the reference signal for the closed loop control of the machine terminal voltage is V star. It is generated from frequency F using a function generator. Okay, using a function generator, we are giving this reference signal for the closed loop control. So if you give like this, it ensures nearly a constant flux operation up to the base speed and operation at a constant terminal voltage above the base speed we can ensure. Okay, so if you increase in speed command omega m star, if you increase the speed command omega m star, it produces a positive speed error. So the slip command omega SL is set to the maximum value then, and the drive will be accelerating at maximum permissible inverter current. So if the drive is positive, if the drive is allowed to accelerate at maximum possible inverter current, then we can attain maximum available torque. So this can be attained if the drive accelerate to maximum permissible inverter current. This produces a maximum available torque until what? Until the speed error is reduced to the small value. So finally the drive will be settling at a slip speed for which the motor torque balances the load torque. And second step, until now we have increased the speed command omega m star. Now if you decrease, if you decrease this, a step decrease in the speed command, it produces a negative speed error. If you increase it, it produces a positive speed error, and if you decreases, it produces a negative speed error. So the slip speed command is set at a maximum negative value. Before one, it sets its maximum possible value, positive value. Now maximum negative value is set. So what happens? The drive will be decelerating under regenerative braking. Before motoring action, now regenerative braking at the maximum permissible current. So this also gives maximum available braking torque until the speed error is again reduced to the small value. So now the operation will be shifting from motoring, and the drive will be settling at the slip speed for which the motor torque will be equal to the load torque. So now the drive has fast response because the speed error is corrected to the maximum available torque. So if you control this speed slip directly like this, it will be giving stable operation under all operating conditions. So for the operations, if you want to go above the base speeds, so we have to do that. The drive before sections in this section at the beginning, I have explained that for operation beyond the base speed, the slip speed limit of the slip regulator, it must be increased linearly with frequency until the breakdown value is reached. So this is achieved by how? By adding a slip regulator output and additional slip speed signal. If you give additional slip speed signal to the slip regulator, then it produces a signal which is proportional to the frequency, and it is producing a signal of appropriate sign there. So for frequencies higher than the frequency for which the breakdown of torque is reached, then the slip limit is kept fixed near the breakdown value. And when we require any fast response, maximum slip can be allowed to be equal to SM. Because if induction motors can be allowed to carry several times, always the induction motors are allowed to carry several times the rated current during the transient operations for a short durations. They are capable of carrying a large amounts of current for a short duration. So The inverter and its front end converter, these are built using semiconductor devices. There, these semiconductor devices are having transient and steady state current ratings of same values. So then the ratings of the inverter and the front end converter will be chosen several times so that the motor has a rated current ratings. So this will be increasing the drive cost. Nothing but this will be increasing the drive cost. So when fast response is not required, this is all about the fast response. If you want to have the fast response, you have to increase the induction drive cost by adding a front end converter with some semiconductor devices, because but we have to maintain the semiconductor devices that should have same equal ratings both in transient and steady state current. Okay, so when the fast response is not required, then the current ratings of the inverter and front end converters will be chosen to be marginally higher than of the motor. Actually, if you want to have fast responses, we have to choose the permissible value, choose the ratings of same value. But if you do not want any fast responses, then the values are chosen just a little bit higher than the induction motor. That's it. So this is all about closed loop speed control. In next classes we will deal about variable frequency control from a current source.